I hope that you're well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 2 English lesson on sentences and fragments, and run-ons. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English Language Arts, grade 2, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of sentences, fragments, and run-ons. All right, so this is a continuation of our previous lesson on sentences, fragments, and run-ons. So we said our chapter is sentences, fragments, and run-ons. Our subject is English Language Arts, grade 2. And then the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of sentences, fragments, and run-ons. So the first lesson is it a complete sentence, fragment, or a run-on? And to unscramble the words to make a complete sentence. All right, so once again, we're going to go over what a sentence is, what a fragment or sentence fragment is, as well as what a run-on sentence is. And a sentence, right, it is a group of words that forms a complete thought. A sentence, it has both subject and a sentence has a verb. So it has both subject and it has the verb, right? And if we look at an example of a sentence, right, which is a group of words that forms a complete thought, and keeping in mind that a sentence has both a subject and it has a verb. And then we have a sentence fragment, right? And a sentence fragment, right? A sentence fragment, it is a group of words and it does not express a complete thought, right? Which means that a sentence fragment is either missing a subject or it is missing a verb. So it's either missing a subject or it is missing a verb, and that is a sentence fragment. And if we look at an example of a sentence fragment, right? It says knows the answer. And if you look specifically at that sentence, now you need to ask yourself who knows the answer, right? So, which means that if there's no subject, right, and then it means that it is a sentence fragment. Because we said, remember, a sentence, a complete sentence, has a subject and a verb. And once again, a sentence fragment, it does not express a complete thought because it is either missing a subject or it is missing a verb. And we say that with the first sentence, right? The first sentence is knows the answer. So that is a sentence fragment because it is missing a subject, right? And then we have another sentence, right? Which is the bright red car. And the bright red car, right? If you ask yourself, what is the bright red car doing? So we need to basically ask, what is the bright red car doing? And if there is no verb within that sentence, then that is a fragment. Because a sentence needs to have both subject and a verb. And we say that if it's either missing a subject or it's missing a verb, and then we say that that is a sentence fragment. All right. So we said once again before we go on to a run-on sentence, we said our first one is a sentence, and we said a sentence expresses a complete thought, right? And a sentence needs to have a subject and it needs to have a verb. And then we said a sentence fragment, right? It is a group of words and it does not express a complete thought. And it's missing a subject or it is missing a verb. And now we have a run on sentence, right? So we spoke about sentences, we spoke about sentence fragments. Now we're on run on sentences. And a run on sentence that should stand on its own. It should stand. So a run-on sentence, we said it is made up of two sentences that should be standing on its own. So which means that it is within these sentences, the examples that we are going to be looking at on run-on sentences, right? We see that a run-on sentence it's made up of two sentences that should stand on its own, and a usually within a run-on sentence, right? It has both sentences in one sentence. It has two sentences in one sentence, right? Whereas that two sentences have they should be standing on their own, or they should stand on their own. And if we were to look at our run-on sentence, right, it says, I knocked on the door, it opened, right? As you can see, that is one full sentence, right? However, it is a run-on sentence. And the reason why it's a run-on sentence is because it is made up of two sentences that should stand on its own. All right, and in order for us to fix a run-on sentence, right? So if you want to, for example, fix a run-on sentence, that means that and fix the run-on sentence by separating it into two sentences. Because remember, we said it is two sentences that is basically in one sentence, right? And they should be standing on their own. So now it says that if you want to fix the run-on sentence, then we need to separate it into two sentences. So we need to separate it into two sentences. We need to add our period after the first sentence, use a capital letter at the beginning of the second sentence, right? And then add our period or end point or end mark, right? All right. And if we separate our run-on sentence, right? We said I knocked on the door, it opened, right? Which means that these are two sentences. And if we were to separate it, we would say, I knocked on the door, period, it opened, right? And we put our period at the end. All right. So now we're going to a+students.ca. All right. So we said once again before we go on to A plus students.ca, we said we have a sentence, we have a fragment sentence, and we have a run-on sentence, right? All right, so now let's go to A plus students.ca, and that is where we are going to say whether our sentences are either a sentence, if it's a fragment, or a run on. We're going to complete the sentences, fragments, and run ons, and we're going to unscramble the words to make complete sense. All right, so we are going to A plus students dot ca, right? And if we specifically look at this chapter, right, that says sentences, fragments, and run-ons, and then we said we are focusing on the two lessons today, whereas in our previous lessons we focused on is the complete sentence, if it's a complete sentence or fragment, as well as is it a complete sentence or run on. Now, today, we're going to do is it a complete sentence, fragment, or run on, and to unscramble the words to make a complete sentence. All right. All right. So, once again, we said a sentence is a group of words that forms a complete thought. And remember, keeping in mind that a sentence has a subject and it has a verb, right? That is what a sentence has. And then we have a sentence fragment, right, which we said is a group of words that does not express a complete thought, and it is usually either missing a subject or it is missing a verb, right? That is a sentence fragment. And then we have a run on sentence, right? And a run on sentence is made up of two sentences that should be standing on its own. And we can fix a run on sentence by separating it into two sentences. Once we separate it into two sentences, right, we add a period after the first one and we use a capital letter at the beginning of a second sentence. All right, so now we're going on to our test, right? Where we are going to say is the complete sentence or a fragment, a sentence, a fragment, or a run on. All right, so we need to say which is a complete sentence. So, which is a complete sentence? Is it option one, which is a complete sentence, which says the two boys always sit in the back seat of the car? Or option two, it was late, Kenny went to bed? A complete sentence. So we need to say which one is a complete sentence. Is it option one, which says the two boys always sit in the back seat of the car, or option two, which is I was late, Kenny went to bed? A complete sentence. If we look at option two, right, then option two will says it was late, period. Katie went to bed, period. That is two sentences within one sentence. That is option two. So which one is a complete sentence? All right, and if we were to select the complete sentence, then yes, we would choose option one, which is the two boys always sit in the back seat of the car. We need to say what is a sentence fragment, and remember we see the sentence fragment either has a missing tongue, I'm sorry, sentence a missing subject or a missing verb. I apologize. So sentence fragment, it's either missing a subject or it's missing a verb. Either one of that, we call that a sentence fragment. Is it the girls and boys from next door, or a big apple fell out of the tree? So is it the girls and boys from next door, or the big apple fell out of the tree? Remember, we said a sentence fragment. It is either missing a subject or it's missing a verb. All right, and if we were to choose the sentence fragment, right? Remember the sentence fragment we said is either missing a verb or it's missing a subject. Like look at option one. It says the girls and boys from next door. But now we need to ask ourselves, what did the boys and girls do from next door? Right? So we'll go with option one because remember it is missing a verb. Now a run-on sentence. Remember basically two sentences that should have been written as one. It says the library is closing. You must pick out your books now. Or Ellen parts her hair to do one side. Or Ellen parts her hair to one side. Option one or option two? So option one, which is the library is closing, you should pick out your books now. Or option two, Ellen puts her head to one side. All right, and if we were to choose the correct one, we will go with option one. Because if we were to separate that sentence, we would say the library is closing, period, and then you must pick out your books now, period. All right, so well done. Option one is correct. Which is a run on sentence? A run on sentence within our sentence. Does it say the clean the dirty shirt and pants with soap? Or my shoes are missing, I can't find them anyway. Remember, we did this yesterday, but we did the two lessons. This today we are doing is to complete sentence fragment or run on, as well as to unscramble the words that make up a sentence. So which means that we are doing other two lessons that is still based on the previous lesson. So a run on sentence. Remember, we said a run on sentence is basically two sentences within one sentence, but it should have been standing on its own, right? Which means that two sentences within that one sentence should have been standing on its own. So the first one says cleared the dirty shirt and pants with soap, or the second one says my shoes are missing. I can't find them anyway. All right, and if we were to choose the correct run-on, yes, we will choose option two, right? Because it says my sisters are missing. I can find them anyway. That is basically two sentences that should have been one. All right, so well done. A run on sentence. Once again, a run on sentence. Remember, we said a run on sentence is where we have two sentences in one sentence, one thing that should have been standing on its own, and we call that a run on sentence, right? It's like words that are being added to a specific word, yet we were supposed to just put an end period. All right. And if we were to say which one is a run on sentence, remember a run on sentence, we said it is basically two sentences that is within one sentence, right? Is it option one? We will leave on Friday. We will go to Norwood. Or option two, night clean the room, burned an old rag. Option one or option two. Look at it again. A run on sentence. Should have been a run on sentence. Option one or option two. And our run-on sentence, right? We can go to option one because option one says we will leave on Friday. That should have been a period after that word, and then the other sentence is we will go to Norwood, which means that it is two sentences within that one sentence, right? So we go with option one. All right, let's do this one, and then we're going to unscrambling and scrambling the words. We need to find a run-on sentence, right? A run-on sentence. Is it Mr. Lester drove the tractor, his sons cleaned the barn, or puts the bread in the oven? So Lester drove the tractor, his sons cleaned the barn, or put the bread in the oven. Option one, option two, a run on sentence that has two sentences in one. All right. So we're saying our run-on sentence is option one. So well done. Option one is correct. Now we're going to the last one, which is to unscramble the words to make a complete sentence, right? And remember, we see that a complete sentence has a subject and it has a verb. And a sentence, we said, has a subject, which is the naming part, and it has an action part, which is the verb. And that tells a complete thought. And keeping in mind that a sentence starts with a capital letter and it ends either with a period or an end mark. And an end mark can be a period, an exclamation mark, or a question mark. Now, we need to put the words in order to make a complete sentence. We say popcorn like I. We need to write that sentence correctly, starting with the subject, the verb, and then the object to show a complete sentence. Popcorn like I. How are we going to write that within a sentence? So we can then say, I like popcorn, right? All right. Okay, let's go to our test. We are going to unscramble the words to make a complete sentence. So we need to unscramble those words. It says put the words in order to make a complete sentence. It says Matt upset looks. Matt upset looks. Is it option one, Matt looks upset, or option two, upset Matt looks? So yes, I like popcorn is correct. Well done. So Matt upset looks. Is it Matt looks upset because it needs to be a sentence that has a subject and a verb? Or upset Matt looks, option two. All right, so option one we would say is correct because Matt looks upset. So well done. Option one is correct. Let's look at the next one. We need to put the words in order to come to make a complete sentence. We say birds are penguins. So birds are penguins. We need to put that in order to show or to make a complete sentence. Is it option one that says birds, penguins are, or option two, penguins are birds? So birds, penguins are, or penguins are birds. All right, and if we were to choose the correct one, we would say penguins are birds. And that one is correct. All right, the next one says put the words in order to make a complete sentence. It says closed door the. Closed door the. Is it closed the door or the door closed? So closed the door, option one, or option two, the door closed, option two. And if we were to choose the correct one, we would say the door closed, which is option two. So option two, because remember, if you look at the sentences, right, they will show you which one is, they're not even telling you which one should be capitalized, but they are telling you, let's say at the end of that word or the last word will have a period. So the last word will have a period. So we need to put the words in order to make a complete sentence. It says lunch yummy was. So lunch yummy was. If we were to put that in its complete order or complete sentence, and then we can say, is it a yummy lunch order or lunch was yummy? Which one is correct? Option one, yummy lunch was, or option two, which is lunch was yummy. All right, so if we choose the correct one, we will choose option two, which is lunch was yummy. Starts with a capital letter and it ends with a period. Lunch was yummy. So well done. Option two is correct. All right, the next one says, are slow donkeys. Are slow donkeys. So do we say it is option one, which is slow donkeys are, or option two, donkeys are slow? Which one is correct? Are slow donkeys, meaning that is it slow donkeys are, or donkeys are slow? Slow. Option one or option two? All right, and if we choose the correct one, yes, we will choose option two. So well done. All right, so this is the end of our lesson on sentences, fragments, and run-ons. We said sentences, it is a group of words that shows a complete thought. It has a subject and it has a verb. Then we have a sentence fragment, right? Which is a group of words that does not express a complete thought. A sentence fragment is either missing a subject or it's missing a verb. And then we have a run-on sentence. Run-on sentences, it is two sentences that can stand on its own. So which means that we need to separate it and then basically rewrite it as the sentences on its own. All right, so that is the end of our lessons, grade two. Thank you very much for joining the class, and I really hope you're going to have an amazing weekend, an amazing summer break. We are still having classes. We're still having A plus classes on the specific days in which you are having. We're still having it Monday to Friday, so do log in whenever you can. But guys, you must enjoy your summer break. Rest well and be safe. Goodbye. It's really up to you. You can join grade three, or you can still join grade two. So you can either join grade three or you can join grade two. Guys, enjoy the vacation, enjoy the holidays, enjoy. You worked very hard, you worked very well, so you deserve the break.